I left the Singapore airport on April 3rd, 2024, excited but timid for the challenge that lay ahead. A dream to ride my bicycle through the continents of Asia and Europe, solo and self-supported. Here is the visual documentation of that story. My name's Alex, and I just rode my bike for a little while through Asia and Europe. I left from Singapore in awe at the scale of the challenge that I had just begun, but also I was super pumped. My first month on the trip, I was sort of rolling through Malaysia and Thailand and Laos. I enjoyed the Songkran festival where they were throwing water at me in the streets. And the food was just so good. You could go get an unholy quantity of rice, like $1.
God damn. That's fucked up.
I continued through Thailand until I ended up in Bangkok, which was the first checkpoint on my route, about 1,500 miles in.
It's 5 a.m. I'm rolling through the Malaysian jungle. Nice. This road's been pretty rad so far.
Bangkok was kind of unreal. It's cool. It's a very good time. And I left Bangkok through the rice paddies. It's super hot and kind of desolate in north central Thailand. Was staying mostly in little hostels and hotels.
Come on, come on! Let's go! Come on, come on! Welcome to Laos. Nice.
And then I crossed into Laos, and it was the first real time that it got super remote on the route. The roads are quite poor. The communities, when you go to the grocery stores, the shelves are completely empty.
I just rode arguably one of the gnarliest sections of road I've ever ridden in my life. It was 15 miles of just pure dust, super pitted. Rear wheel is wobbling. We have one spare spoke left, so I'm just gonna baby this wheel. Apparently the road surface in China is pretty good, so I'll baby this wheel for another 200 miles to get to a bike shop or so. So hopefully it makes it. If not, I'll be doing some hitchhiking.
China was definitely the best on the route. I met my first other cyclist in Chengdu, China, a guy named Quinn. You can follow him, he's still cycling now. And it was just quite enjoyable. The culture was really incredible, the food was very good, everything was cheap, and the road surface is unlike anywhere else in the world, in my opinion. I did have some hardships in China.
Holy shit! First sandstorm in the desert. Oh my God. You can see it rolling up on me. Sandstorm is about to hit me. I can't even ride because the wind is so strong. Look at that, coming in the distance. Yikes.
But Nothing too crazy. Yeah, it was nuts.
That was an unbelievable sector of mountains. Check this. Oh my God. One of the top 10 climbs of my life. It was unbelievable. And now I'm ripping down this valley, going way faster than the cars. The cars have to go so slow like this, and I can just go completely brakeless all the way.
Learning Chinese was quite fun. I've spent a lot of time studying so I could communicate better while I was there. Say a word. I can say we're friends. 我们是朋友. That means we are friends. Georgia and Turkey were insane. Georgia's super beautiful, and I spent a night in Batumi. Actually met some other American guys for the first time, which was pretty cool. Georgia and Turkey were kind of a blur. I was going pretty quickly, and I was doing a lot of camping, and so I would arrive to my campsite sort of relatively late and get up relatively early, and was kind of mainly seeing the stuff in between. It's a lot of either really crappy side road or kind of highway in Turkey, at least. In Georgia, I was doing a good bit of like hike a bike and some Google Maps grab and stuff. In Turkey, I met up with these two guys named Julius and Miles. Actually, Miles followed me on Strava, and he messaged me, or I messaged him, or somehow we figured out that he was also bikepacking in Turkey, and he was with his friend, and they were like a day behind me. And I rode with them, you know, for 600 miles actually, all the way to Istanbul, which was the first riding I had done not alone. And it was a great time. Those guys were a hoot. We had many a good nights, lots of sketchy camping. The wild dogs came after us. They were stealing Julius's shoes in the night. We got kicked out of at least one campsite, had at least a dozen flats. Them, not me. But there was a hoot.
Miles' bottle. It's growing polka dots.
What up, folks? I am now in Bulgaria, which is country number 9. I started this morning in Turkey. I crossed into Greece for about 20 miles, and then I just crossed into Bulgaria. So, gonna go find a campsite a few miles across the border. Allegedly, camping in Bulgaria is illegal, but unenforced. So we'll see if I can stumble upon any good abandoned buildings. Wish me luck. Peace. The gang is back. Another night with the Kardashians.
We're not make it back.
Business as usual.
I crossed into Poland after spending one night in Krakow. I departed for the last stage of my journey. I cycled 185 miles to Zwyciężanie, Poland, my final destination after almost 5 months on the road.
Zabka kurwa. Kurwa Zabka. Warszawa kurwa. Kurwa Warszawa.
How many cats and dogs did you see?
Thousands.
Where are the most cats?
What are you doing?
Oh, the most cats are definitely in Istanbul or in Izmit in Turkey. I tried to get a good documentation of most of the animals I was encountering.
What would you say was your lowest point on the trip, and then what was the highest?
You clearly see a paved road that is marked with, say, a number, and it's not on Baidu. And so you're kind of guessing. And I knew that I needed to be going like sort of northwesterly to get to Lanzhou. The police had knocked on my door. You register with the police when you arrive. They knocked on my door and they told me there had been a landslide, say 15 kilometers away. And they said that, I could wait or that I could go another way. I kind of saw this green area on the satellite view. And I was like, well, there's some roads in there, I'll go that way. And it looked short on the map, but China's huge, and so everything looked short. I knew it was gonna be wet. I left right after I spoke to them and took this alternate route, kind of through a national park of sorts. And I was riding these roads and they just didn't end. I was on them for like 12 or 13 or 14 hours and they were really muddy. And the bike was significantly heavier because of the mud and the climbs were really steep. And on one of the descents, I completely lost my brakes and I crashed into this small barbed wire fence, but I broke my thumb when I did it. And I caught my hand on there and it peeled it back against my arm. I was so miserable. And I had a broken thumb, and I was in the middle of nowhere. I don't know, that was the lowest. My first high point was the Songkran Festival, because it was just so incredible. My second high point was just walking around the city with these 2 other Australian tourists in Chiang Rai. That was really fun. Then I would say Chengdu and Kunming were just top-notch Chinese cities. China was my favorite country by far.
The highs and the lows are both in China.
Yeah.
The highest high and the lowest lows
Yeah,
are both in China.
definitely. The journey I had completed broke me but changed me, something I'll remember for the rest of my life. But the bike was great. Here it is. The Sanitas. 3 chains and only 2 punctures. Eat, sleep, shit, and ride. And that's really all there was to it. A Komodo dragon in a tuxedo. That was sick. And I was a critter.
Yeah.
I was in the bushes.
Yeah, safe to say.
I need to get to the city. My bike weighs 50 pounds. I have a saddle sore the size of a grapefruit. God, that shit was so easy.